Israeli search teams have now entered the Gaza Strip, desperately searching for any hostages taken into the area. This comes as Israel warning residents in northern Gaza to evacuate as they continue to launch strikes on Hamas targets. But the terror group is telling Palestinians to defy Israel's orders ahead of an expected ground invasion. And anti-Israel protests are now erupting across the Muslim world. Mike Tobin joins us with the latest live on the ground in Netivot, Israel. Mike, what is the latest?
Well, the latest is that the exodus or the evacuation out of Gaza City is underway. We've got some images we can show you. There really is only one main road headed south out of Gaza City, headed to the population centers of Khan Yunis and further south to Rafah. And it runs along the beach there. And that is jammed up because you've got 1.1 million people essentially in the city of Gaza, and they're trying to make it south right now. We don't know that all the people are going, but clearly a large number of people are doing what they can to get out of Gaza City ahead of an anticipated Israeli ground invasion. That being said, throughout the day, the rockets still flew into southern Israel. We've got video of a rocket making an impact in the town of Ashkelon near an apartment building there, where I spoke with a young man who said he is out of patience. They want the army to do whatever the army has to do, even if it means displacing women and children.
The women and the children of the Palestinians should take their legs, take their people, take them out of Gaza.
And the Israeli Air Force went into Gaza City last night, hitting some 750 targets. There's tremendous damage to the infrastructure in Gaza City itself. The casualties continue to pile up. Now, one of the things the Israeli army did is they dropped leaflets. That is how they communicated the need to evacuate the city of Gaza. With the leaflets that fell down, there was a lot of confusion. There were orders from the Hamas leadership telling people not to go. There were some reports that they were physically stopping people. That just doesn't seem to be panning out, because the exodus indeed is underway with thousands and thousands of people trying to get out of Gaza. One of the things I would note, we're here toward the northern end of the Gaza Strip, and usually at this time we get a lot of rocket fire. So far tonight we haven't seen any rockets coming out. Guys, back to you in New York.
Thank you, Mike. Excellent reporting as always. You'll keep us updated. Bringing the discussion back to the couch now. Carly, what are your top line thoughts?
Well, the image of the leaflets flying over northern Gaza, Gaza City, is stunning. And it does show that Israel is at least making an effort to get these people out. And it comes as no surprise that the report shortly after we got that video was that Hamas was telling its own citizens not to leave. And some of them are able to flee, as you just saw with the other footage that Mike just showed. But some of them won't. Even Trey Yangst was saying that he has a contact in Gaza, and he said that about half the people are gonna leave and the others will stay, which is interesting. And they may die, and then we know how this goes. Hamas will use that as propaganda to support their cause. The other thing that I was thinking about today is why this war has started, and it does go back to Iran being very fearful that Saudi Arabia would enter that normalization agreement with Israel. So the thinking is that Iran supports Hamas to attack Israel, and then Israel would strike back and Muslims would die. So you see these protests around the world right now of Muslims celebrating a liberation when really the end game was to kill Muslims. So just something to keep in the back of your mind as we see these protests play out this week.
Hexeth, I'm curious, as this administration has sort of created and then certainly emphasized a position, frankly, of weakness, a fracture of internal strife, of taking our eye off the ball and focusing on nonsensical and irrelevant things. This has sort of set a stage of instability that it seems clearly our enemies are taking advantage of. What do you see on the horizon? Is this ship able to turn around? Can this administration represent the strength America should represent in the face of the atrocities that Hamas is committing on these?
No, I don't think so. Their approach has prompted the planning of things like this. I mean, we now know this was over a year in the planning, which means under the Biden administration. We now know weapons from the debacle in Afghanistan were used in that particular offensive. Maximum pressure better be put on Egypt to allow anyone to leave that wants to leave. Because if you're going to have a successful ground offensive, you can't be doing it by trying to figure out who's civilian and who's not. It has to be everyone out, total war, destroy Hamas. And if you're there, you're a target. That's the only way the Israeli military can justifiably go in and do what they have to do, which is with multiple story buildings, booby traps and IEDs, suicide bombers, and then 300 miles of tunnels underneath with hostages.
Wow.
It's an impossible situation. You have to get this. Tell the civilians to leave, and if you stay, you're putting your life in your hands because Israel's doing everything it can.
Can I just point out the United Nations spokesperson said that they strongly appeal any such order, if confirmed, to be rescinded to avoid what could transform. So you have the United Nations saying, don't do this. The United Nations, which is historically anti-Israel. Israel has to fight back, and their right to warn civilians to get out of the way.
Absolutely right. More outnumbered in just a moment. Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.